it really does help you meet whatever goals you've set for yourself. And our PTK benefits and programming are purposefully designed to help you achieve those goals. Now, of course, student engagement team, I think it goes without saying that we're passionate about student engagement. And again, not just because we're wanting that participation in Phi Theta Kappa programming, but because we know it's data proven that students that are actively engaged in college beyond their classes are much more likely to graduate. And so that is a huge incentive. We know that Phi Theta Kappa members already have a high graduation rate, but the idea that you can connect to all of these benefits that come free with your membership is so important for you to know that, and for you to help spread the word to fellow members that may just be, becoming a new member this spring. And so at this point, I'd like to introduce my fellow colleagues that are going to be presenting during this session. And that's going to be our focus, is on really engaging in Phi Theta Kappa's opportunities. So our Chief Engagement Officer, Dr. Blake Ellis, he is at another event. He was not able to join us this afternoon, but we want to make sure that when you think of student engagement, this is our fearless leader, Dr. Blake Ellis. And then for our other teammates, we've got on the call today, I'll just go in the order that it's listed here on the slide. Susan Edwards is our Associate VP of Honors Programs and Undergraduate Research. When you think honors in action, you should think Susan Edwards. And so she's joining us. And then myself, Jennifer Stanford, Reagan Chastain is our curriculum designer, all of our PTK Edge courses, advisor course, leadership studies, and so much more, including Catalyst responsibilities. So that's Reagan Chastain. Ryan Martin and Patty Van Adder are our two chapter outreach and development coordinators. They work directly with chapter leaders as well as chapter advisors. And Ryan covers divisions 3 and 4 on the Phi Theta Kappa map, and Patty covers divisions 1 and 2 on our Phi Theta Kappa map. So we are very excited again that you've joined us this afternoon. We know you have a lot of other things you could be doing, so it really means a lot to us that you take some time out of your schedule to join us to hear more about what Phi Theta Kappa offers for members. So with that, I think, Patty, do I turn it over to you?
Yep.
All right.
My turn. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks everybody for joining us today for the session. Whether you're here or you're viewing it later, we are glad that you are taking a moment to learn more about what you can do with your Phi Theta Kappa membership, whether you are serving as a chapter officer or as an engaged member, and of course, all of our advisors who are with us today. Today's session, we're going to cover organizing leadership and engaging members. Under organizing leadership, we're going to take a look at chapter operations really briefly and the resources that are available to you, such as the 5-star chapter plan, which is really the cornerstone of how to engage a chapter in Phi Theta Kappa programming. The activity guide for chapter leaders, which I think is an excellent resource for advisors, leaders, and members. There's activities there that will guide you into building that chapter while using the 5-star chapter plan. We're going to take a look at the difference between motivation and inspiration as well, right? And how to use those two terms to engage your chapter members in participating with the chapter officers and leaders within the 5-star chapter plan. Ryan's going to take a look at engaging members by a method called Pathway to Engagement, how to use leadership development, and how and where the path can lead as well. So again, we thank you for joining. We will share the PowerPoint at a later date. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll monitor them, and we'll get back to them at the end of the session. So I'm going to talk a little bit about organizing your chapter leadership, right? Some of you may be just becoming a chapter officer for this year. Some of you may have been a chapter officer, or maybe you're continuing over. Maybe some of you are thinking about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about the importance, right? The role of chapter leadership and how the chapter leadership is really there to inspire, to motivate, and to inspire and motivate other members to engage, right? We always talk about the benefits of membership, but if we're not inspiring our membership to engage in those things, they will never know that they exist. So we're going to let's talk about organizing the chapter's leadership, right? Whether your chapter holds elections or there's officers are appointed, whatever method it is, there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever way your chapter does it. It's really key that those that are tasked or sign up for that leadership role learn all that they can, right? For not only themselves, but to share with the chapter's membership. Every chapter is different in the sense of how it is run, and of course the advisor is that person that shares that information year after year with their chapter, and they talk about with you what the expectations are of a chapter officer. There are so many different chapter officer titles. We could spend an entire 3 days listing them all, right? But mainly there's a president and a vice president, could be a vice president of the hallmarks, could be secretary, could be, anything, public relations. There are so many. And then those are your like elected officers or appointed officers. And then some chapters even go down as far as having committee leaders, right? Maybe a service hallmark committee or the college project committee leader, where they're not an officer, but they are a leader of that particular committee. And so it's really important for the chapter in its early days, the chapter officer team, along with their members too, sometimes, to take a look at developing a leadership philosophy, right? Defining what your own leadership philosophy is and what's that of the chapter. And there are plenty of, there's one really great way, one really awesome activity that every chapter officer team can participate in is found in the activity guide for leaders, and it's develop a leadership philosophy. It comes directly from the leadership development studies where you're looking at that first unit. By the way, you have to do the first unit so you can get to the rest. But that's a great way to get started, right? There is a value sorts cards exercise as an activity in the guide where there's all of these values that everyone can look at, and you pick out your top 5 and those values that you would live and die by, right? And you share those values with each other, and you try to come up with a common leadership philosophy for the chapter that you're going to live by. You need to know how you're going to live your chapter, how you're going to live by your chapter to get through an entire year with each other in engaging others. There's also an opportunity in the activity guide for leaders to do team building, right? Team building is essential, but what I would love for you to do is to add play into your team building. I've been to a couple of regions over the last couple of weeks, and I've just been blown away how simple putting a puzzle on a table is an icebreaker, can spark conversation, get to know one another. Maybe it's not a puzzle and it's Legos, or it's anything, right? I encourage you to find playful ways to facilitate team building. And you can also go to Google and Google team building activities that include play, right? And I'm using that word an awful lot because it sounds like part of an our honors study topic for the next couple of years. So the next thing that chapter leaders are responsible for are facilitating chapter meetings, and sometimes the advisor is part of that. Sometimes there are so many chapter meetings that you have to have in the cycle of a month that the advisor cannot be there. So the officers need to understand what is really important in a chapter meeting, such as setting an agenda, starting it on time, ending it on time, because everybody has, time commitments. And also, I would also encourage everyone this year to consider continuing with a hybrid method of chapter meetings, right? Not everybody can be on campus, whether it has something to do with the pandemic or not, whether they are working or they have childcare issues or any of those types of things. It's really beneficial to the chapter and its membership that you have, if you have a meeting on campus, that you include a virtual component of it, have a Zoom meeting or a team or any sort of virtual meeting, so that others can either watch, join in, or watch at a different time. Okay.
Hi, is the head of the household there?
Is that me? Or is that, no?
I think if everyone will just make sure they're muted.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. So it's really important to continue a hybrid method of chapter meetings, right? And so you have also a record of it. If you record the meeting to share at a different time, you have a record of it, and you'll get less. I didn't know that happened, or I didn't know, or how did that occur? And you'll have that record of the meeting. So the agenda and doing that hybrid format of a meeting is extremely helpful and beneficial to the chapter. We also encourage you to play at a chapter meeting, right? Of course, there's a lot of business that has to be taken care of and talked about and planning, but always start out or include some sort of activity that everyone can just have fun with, right? Chapter meetings are supposed to have a level of fun and sometimes some food too, but I don't encourage you to play with your food, not at a chapter meeting, right? We don't want you to get your t-shirt all dirty. So either food or play and have it so that it's an enjoyable experience and it's not all about, being a formal meeting. A lot of times, and I've been reading, if you have looked at the honors study guide, there's a lot to be said about what can come out of just play, right? Some of the just best ideas can come from that. And I think chapter meetings will find that if they include play in their chapter meetings, that they'll find that it's a great idea, especially when they're trying to set smarter goals, right? So we want chapters to set smarter goals for the year. Even though we have the 5-star chapter plan and we ask the chapter to set a goal on how they will engage in that, whether it's level 1 through 5, I want you to go for 5. And why? Because I think that's a smarter goal. Shoot high, right? And we will help you get up to that 5th level. And we'll later on in the year provide a more detailed look at the 5-star plan and how you can engage in it. But we want you to set goals as it relates to each of the different levels, right? If under level 1, it's all about membership acceptance. And if your chapter is looking to increase its membership, setting a smarter goal, setting some objectives that will help you reach increasing your membership or increasing your awareness on campus. That's what the chapter officer leadership does in order to be able to be ready for engaging in the 5-star plan. So I really think that when you organize your leadership at the beginning of a term, whether it's, May after graduation and the new term starts, or even if it's now, one of the best practices I've heard and I've done myself as an advisor was to work with the current team before they graduate and the incoming team so that they can shadow each other and learn more about what worked and what didn't work for their chapter, what things they would have liked to have changed. And talk about where everything is, right? So that's providing that orientation piece for chapter officers is really beneficial to not only as individuals, but as a team and for the chapter. Tons of resources, right? We don't ask you to get involved in being a chapter officer, because I can imagine, I remember when I was a chapter officer, when I became a chapter officer, I said, okay, now what do I do, right? And I was handed this binder that was this big, and it was before the website, and it was crazy. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? But now we have plenty of resources for all of you, and we want you to be really, involved in your own journey as a chapter officer, right? It's about you taking some time and taking a look at all of these resources if you're serving as a chapter officer or a committee member. And we start with the 5-star chapter plan. I'm not going to hit on each link because it'll take me right out of the page, but when you get the PowerPoint, you'll be able to see what they look like. The 5-star chapter plan, it says 5 levels of engagement, whether at levels 1 and 2, where we're talking about engaging at the local level. Level 3, getting involved with your region, and that's another responsibility you should have, is to learn more about your the region your chapter belongs to and how to get involved with them. And level 4 and 5 are all about engaging in college projects and being a more engaged college projects and honors in action and being a more engaged chapter, and also on the international level. I can't say enough about the 5-star chapter plan, right? We do the thing, not that we do the thinking for you, but we give you a tool to follow. It's the roadmap. It's everything. The only thing that you need to ensure that your chapter gets to the level that it wants to achieve, right? So whether you, this is the first time that your chapter is going to engage in it or the 50th time, right? We really want you to follow along on the 5-star chapter plan. Some of you may be thinking, well, my chapter was the 2-star chapter in this last year, and I don't, 5 sounds an awful lot. It can be done. We've met with plenty of chapters this year that have gone from 1 to 5-star, and why? They followed the plan. They've connected with us for additional support and resources, and it can be done. It's the equalizer, right? Every chapter's the same, and it doesn't require a 15-member officer team or 100 members at a chapter meeting. It only requires at least 2 people that want to inspire the chapter to the next level. Again, I talked a little bit about the activity guide for chapter leaders. I think every Phi Theta Kappa member should take a look at that, because there's great activities that you can use to modify, whether used directly as they are or modify for your chapter's needs, to be able to engage in the 5-star plan. Like, for instance, if you want to increase membership on campus or increase awareness on campus, one of the simple things to do is do an elevator speech, right? And everybody says, well, I don't want to do why does it have to be an elevator speech, or what is it? Well, it's in the guide, but you can modify it. And one of the quickest ways that we just did this in the region last weekend, one of the quickest ways to do an elevator speech is to be ready if someone says to you, why are you PTK? And you should be able to answer that question and give a brief answer as to why, and then they'll be more interested in it. But there's plenty of activities in that activity guide for chapter leaders. I'm going to turn it over to Susan Edwards, who's going to talk to you how you can inspire your chapter members in honors programming. Susan.
Thank you, Patty, and hi, everybody. So happy to see you here this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing many of you, hopefully all of you, in Denver in a couple of weeks. But the really exciting thing about being leaders in Phi Theta Kappa, whether you're members or chapter officers or chapter advisors, is that you set the tone for the honors program. So the first thing I want to say is that, if you come in and say, this is so exciting, love the new honors study topic, got the honors program guide, let's take a look at this. We're a small group if you are right now, but we can do this. Let's really think about how we can do it. You set that tone. What we found with honors in action is if leaders of the chapter embrace it, everybody will start to embrace it and see it as fun and see it as a positive thing. And you all know, if you go into a meeting and say, oh, research, this is so hard, we don't want to do it, that sets the tone as well. So you've got this opportunity at the beginning of the year to talk about play, as Patty's been doing, and saying the art and science of play. There are so many possibilities here, and we've got resources for you. The honors program guide, that beautiful cartwheeling cover of the honors program guide that Deonica Davis created. If you look at the honors program guide, this is a tool that will give you everything you need to know about honors in action, for example, which is one of our 2 projects that we love for chapters to do during the year. So you've got the 2022-2023 honor study topic in the guide, with introductions to each of the 7 themes, overarching questions to give you a sense of what that particular theme entails, but then all sorts of tools within the guide, including the planning and judging rubric and some graphics so you can take a look at the steps in honors in action, a journaling guide written by the fabulous Dr. Terry Ruckel, who's on the Honors Program Council and is just expert at journaling and teaching journaling and other things. So, take a look at that if you haven't. It's posted at ptk.org/honors. We have lots of I think, interesting information, and there are lots of ways to look at play. We also, if you go to ptk.org/honors, and Patty talking about having some scholarly fellowshipping and getting everybody excited about it. We have a film list. It includes documentaries that would be considered academic sources, many of them, so you can use that. But we have some fun films that will just bring people together to talk about play as well, and some television shows that you can watch as well that deal with play. And so, we know chapters have some fun movie nights and get people talking about those kinds of things using the film list, or some films and documentary films that you like and you've thought of and you think this would be a really good one to watch. So you can do things like that. You also, as chapter leaders, can take a look at, for example, TED.com and look at some TED Talks that will be conversation starters for honors in action. And while they're not considered academic sources, but they're real starters and where chapters might go. So, make it fun. There are lots of ways. I wish everybody could have the fun that the Honors Program Council has, talking about everything and throwing ideas out and having good-natured debate, mostly good-natured debate about the topics, because that's how people get excited about it. And it's why you see the Honors Program Council always excited about it, because they've gone through that process. So I recommend that highly. And then we've got, Patty mentioned our Leadership Development Studies program. We have lots of tools in the Leadership Development Studies curriculum that can help you work with chapters as well and getting them going with the honors programming. So, take a look at those. If you're looking for examples about, what does a great honors in action project look like? Take a look at Civic Scholar. That's also posted at ptk.org/honors. There are, in the last issue, in the 2021 issue, there are 18 entries. We are working on the 2022 issue of Civic Scholar, which will come out later this year. There will be examples there. Of course, we've got a new honor study topic, but you can take a look at the process and how people do it and the really great ideas that chapters come up with. And just know, some of those chapters are really big and the projects are huge. Some of those chapters are really small and the projects are great. So as Patty mentioned, it's the great equalizer, but we're here to help. We don't want this to be arduous. We want this to be fun. We want this to be interesting. And we want everybody to be able to develop and hone skills through this process and taking the Leadership Development Studies curriculum, working on honors in action. There are lots of skills that people can really develop through this, and we can all develop our leadership skills. So, please, as you're looking at honors in action and you're looking at honors programming, remember you make a difference in how chapters and how members and how everybody else in the society sees the honor study topic and honors in action and honors programming in general. And thank you for going out there and being positive and helping everybody see what is possible through our honors programming. Then, so I'm going to go back, I think, to Patty or to Reagan.
I think I'm going to hand it over to Reagan now. She's going to talk about professional development.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. So recently, we have been developing these courses. Competitive Edge has been around for several years, but of course, as you know, at Phi Theta Kappa, we are constantly improving and looking at data and just making sure that we're providing you with the best resources and the best professional development we possibly can. And so just to prove that, I started doing some research, and I looked at the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they came out with a list in 2021. And I'm going to read you the list, and then I'm going to just briefly tell you how amazing our curriculum corresponds and just lines up so well with all of these. I mean, we're hitting the nail on the head, so to speak. So in that list, they have career and self-development. Well, basically that's talking about you all being motivated to go out and get your own professional development. Well, if you're taking any of the PTK courses, that's obviously what you're doing, right? You are seeking professional development, career development, apart from your company or any other, the resources that you have available. So self-directed, right? Self-directed education. Leadership, we have the leadership development studies, of course, which is all about leadership. But then we also hit on leadership in the EDGE courses as well. We talk about self-awareness, which is important in leadership, and all sorts of other topics. A third career readiness competency that was mentioned by the National Association of Colleges and Employers was communication. I don't think you'll find a single EDGE course that doesn't have some type of communication piece to it. When we talk about employment EDGE, you know, the communication is going to be directed at finding a job and the communication associated with that. Patty mentioned the elevator pitch, right? That's a type of communication that you're going to find information about in that employment EDGE. Of course, research EDGE, you have to write up those hallmarks. And so we have information in research EDGE about communicating what you did as part of your college project and honors and action process. Professionalism. I don't think there's a single unit in competitive EDGE and healthcare EDGE that doesn't have some aspect of professionalism included. Critical thinking, we actually have an entire unit in competitive EDGE that is all sorts of thinking: critical thinking, analytical thinking, critical reading, critical writing, which all goes in together to make you a better critical thinker. Teamwork. We have stuff in the EDGE courses, as well as, of course, any of you who have participated in College Project and Honors in Action know that teamwork, you couldn't do it without teamwork, right? That's one of the main objectives of those two projects. And then the last one is equity and inclusion. And if you've completed competitive EDGE, you know that in every single unit, we have a diversity matters content, which is totally devoted to some topic related to equity and inclusion. So like I said, when I started looking at this, I realized how well PTK programming literally lines up with these competencies that were developed by a completely different organization, and importantly, colleges and employers, right? So most of us are going to continue in college or going to be employed soon. So I think that the EDGE programs, Honors in Action, College Project, all of these things, everything that's part of the 5-star chapter plan can fit in these categories and will help you develop you will benefit from these courses and participating in our curriculum. I'm going to throw it back over to Patty.
As soon as I unmute, I'll be good. Thank you, Reagan. Thank you, Susan. Part of your job, one of the things that we task our chapter officers with, and I almost said part of your job, but I think it's part of your responsibilities, And part of something that you should want to do is to share these resources with your chapter membership, right? Whether they are going to take a leadership role or not, right? Those PTK edges are priceless resources for every member. And even for yourselves as chapter leaders, I always encourage my chapter officers to at least complete competitive edge and research edge before the year really took over for them, so that they knew what they were, going to be able to confidently talk about some of the programs that are available to membership. So encourage you to take a look at all those, and definitely take a look at the guide and the 5-star chapter plan and all of those. This is your toolbox here, right? If I could put these all in a box, it would be an officer toolbox for all of you to take a look at over the next weeks and months as you take on your leadership role. Just want to talk a little bit about something that came across. We had a conversation with someone over the weekend, and we were talking about motivation, and they led me to read this article, and I was kind of like blown away by it. Like, you know what it is, how many of you, you don't have to answer, but I mean, a lot of us will go to a chapter meeting and we're looking at what we need to do, and we say, well, there's nobody comes to meetings. Like, how do we get people to meetings? We can't buy pizza every time we have a meeting, or we can't, how do we do that? How do we motivate our members to come to meetings or engage in projects? And I think a lot of it is about, in the beginning, is inspiring members, giving them the inspiration to come to a meeting, right? And there's a definite difference between inspiration and motivation, and how we as Phi Theta Kappa members and leaders do a little of both, right? Because both really do work. And I took a look at the definitions for inspiration and motivation, and you can see how clearly they are different. Inspiration is something that makes someone want to do something, that that gives someone an idea about what to do or create, right? So being inspired by hearing a story, and we'll talk about a couple of ideas about what inspiration is, in Phi Theta Kappa. And then motivation, right? The act or process of giving someone a reason for doing something, right? So kind of like if I thought, you need, if your doctor says to me, says to you, you need to take these medications in this step or you'll die, there's your motivation. You'll take this medication or the steps, right? Whereas you want to be inspired to live a healthy life, you can get that kind of inspiration from others who have struggled with it and have found ways to better themselves that way. And it's the same with Phi Theta Kappa. I think if we are constantly saying to our chapter members, this is all about scholarships, and you won't get a scholarship if you don't participate, it kind of gets, that's not going to motivate me. You want me to add more work on so I can earn a scholarship. You want to inspire them to want to come and work a little bit more and engage with the chapter and find their passion in Phi Theta Kappa to want to do more. And your role as a chapter leader is to do a balance of both, right? Inspiring them, inspiring your chapter members with your role as a chapter leader, always being prepared and willing to help and serve the chapter and the community and the college, sharing maybe your honors and action research to inspire engagement and change within your community, right? So if you have your chapter sitting there doing their research and they come to the analysis and you're ready to rock and roll with it, sharing that, maybe that's a step that chapter members can read about in a meeting or any of that, and and say, what, that is something I want to get involved with. So I'll come out to that, being inspired by it. Sharing the mission and vision of your chapter's college project, right? Every chapter who participates in a college project knows that there's a vision to it, right? And a mission, and it meets the mission of the college and the college's administration. And it's something that everyone can get involved in, inspiring your chapter members to get involved in that through finding a reason that best meets their passions and how they want to engage is the way to do it. Another form of inspiring is empowering others, right? Have others take the lead on committees or meetings or chapter activities. It doesn't have to be the chapter officers all the time leading these things. Give them some things to, want them to, put into place with the chapter. And although I am a big fan of giving bling when it's earned, right? We've done this on chapter and regional levels of Phi Theta Kappa, where if everybody completes their PTK, the PTK Edge programs, we'll give them a scholarship, or we will give them this, or that we'll purchase their souls. All that is really good. It does motivate, right? Just like member of the month program incentives and scholarships and all of that, but it only lasts for the time being, right? Does it really help them? Like once they're doing it, are they doing it for the bling, or are they really doing it for the content, right? So it's a balance of inspiration and motivation. And I really believe, after having this conversation with this person, that it is about both, but a little bit more about inspiration, inspiring members to be the change that they want to see, and using Phi Theta Kappa as part of that, even if the change is for themselves. So it's my turn to turn it over to Ryan, and she's going to talk about engaging members.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So part of it, now we've talked about inspiration and motivation and what those mean. So now it's engaging those members and inspiring the why. So going on, thinking of why are you here? And then inspiring them to understand the reasons why they're here. So part of that is, your integrity as a chapter leader, as a chapter member. You're going to want to, if you're going to show them, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. So Patty, if you would go to the next one. So now, you showed them how, and then you showed them how to accept their membership, and you've helped them step by step. And then you want to, kind of what's next. So you're telling them about all of the great PTK benefits that there are. So you want to showcase them. You want to invite them to invite those new members to chapter meetings and induction ceremony. We all know how important induction ceremonies are. We know how intimate it can be with new members bringing their families, and their families seeing what that why is also. So it can inspire someone in the family to go back to college, to get the grades, to become a member and be inducted into the chapter that you're in. So that's a huge one also. And then to be up there and to be recognized at the induction ceremony. And then being able to promote information sessions. So those PTK 101s and those what PTK can do for you type information sessions are vital, because some people are like, okay, so I've accepted my membership, I've paid my dues. Now what is next? What is PTK? What is Phi Theta Kappa? Because we all know we get those questions. Are you in a fraternity? Are you in a sorority? So we want to make sure they know what they've gotten into, what they've accepted. And then, I think it was Reagan, or it might have been Patty earlier, who was just talking about, it was Patty talking about the elevator speech. Well, you also want to be that walking billboard. So for the most part, when I'm anywhere, I have Phi Theta Kappa stuff on. That's why I hear a lot about for fraternities and sororities. Which one are you in? And I'm like, it's an honor society type thing. And then invite new members to build new relationships and networking outside of the chapter. So if you're having an awareness campaign and you see the college president going by, invite those new members to be at that table, so they'll get to meet the college president, because knowing the college president is really important. Or a whole bunch of supportive faculty members. That's another way to network, or with other clubs and organizations on your college campus. That's a great way to build those new relationships and networking with others. All right. Again, network and build connections, not just with your chapter, but with your region and internationally. And you're probably like, what does that mean, Ryan? So as an advisor, I would tell new students, hey, do you want to get you want to know people locally, not just with our chapter, not with just on our campus, but also regionally. So get involved with the region events, whether that's attending regional meetings, but also attending, now that we're in this virtual world, we can go to a whole bunch of regional events right here via Zoom. So that's going to workshops that regional officers work hard to put together, regional conventions, regional honors institute, regional leadership development studies that happen in the summer. That can all be done regionally. And then internationally, which we hope to see most of you in Denver in the next couple of weeks. I can't believe it's almost April already. You get to build networks and connections that you're going to have, not just for that whole 4 days that we're in Denver, but beyond. So in case you want to run for international office, you have a whole network of team people who can be your campaign manager, your campaign crew. They're going to cheer you on social media, and that can happen regionally too when you're thinking about applying or running for a regional office too. And then building your development leadership or developing your leadership skills. So whether that's for just for Phi Theta Kappa while you're a leader in your chapter, but it can also be for your communications class. It can be not just for school, it can be in your work life. It can be at home. So you're developing those leadership skills right by doing some of our development courses that we have for you, and just with working with others, because you're going to learn about your leadership style and how to work with the others' leadership styles. And then expanding that influence on campus. Sometimes you're like, how can I get, the masses, if you have 8,500 students on your campus, how can I get them to know who we are? How can I get them to know our chapter? And a great way to do that is just be out there, just talk about Phi Theta Kappa as much as you can, and give the opportunity for others to come in and learn more. And then, like Susan said, being able to conduct scholarly research and putting that knowledge that you have into action. So with your Honors in Action project, I believe even though you're still researching with your college project, but you're taking that, what you've learned and brought together, and you're bringing it onto your campus as an awareness campaign, whether it's for your campus or something into your community. So it's really great when you can do both of those. And then inspire to engage. So a couple things I think is important, and Patty and I talk about all the time, is ask. If you don't ask someone to do something, so a member, they might not be in a leadership position, but if you don't ask them, you never know what their strengths or weaknesses are. So make sure you encourage those members to be active. And sometimes it's hard without being overbearing or pushy. But once you put out that ask, they're going to be like, oh, they asked me. Oh, wow. So yeah, of course I'll do that. And it could be something as little as reserve the room for our next meeting, or, hey, would you like to create the poster board for our involvement fair that's coming up? Just asking, they're like, oh, I want to do this. Now I'm going to continue to get more involved. And then I'm big on this, is having fun. So I know that most of our meetings are business, but if you have 4 meetings in the whole month, one of those should be having fun, and one of those should be team building and developing that rapport or building that rapport. So hosting team building activities, conducting icebreakers, get to know each other, icebreakers at each meeting. Maybe have ice cream socials that are based off of everyone's personality. So some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, some people like strawberry, but you're kind of doing some research and data analysis to figure out who likes what. And sometimes it's fun to have those different results of who likes what ice cream. Encouraging those members who are kind of on the fence about, running for a leadership position, whether that's with the chapter, regional, or internationally, or just to be on a committee. Give those members and other leaders the responsibility of being on a committee. Delegate roles that provide a sense of ownership and to help develop their social and leadership skills. Recognize recognition is really important. And so one way to do that, which is in the activity guide for chapter leaders, is create a member of the month or spotlight showcase type recognition for members or leaders. Hey, this member is doing super amazing and has done X, Y, and Z for us. We just want to showcase them. And then organize. You can have members, like I said earlier, just have them reserve the room, but you can have them organize different campus events and activities for both members, non-members, which when you organize for non-members, it helps motivate them to join. So it's kind of a win-win, and also for the community. So when you're doing that, you're getting everyone involved and they get to see the campus event. They get to know what Phi Theta Kappa is all about, and everybody is having a good time. If you can go to the next one, Patty. All right, and then what does engagement lead to? It leads to scholarships. So scholarships. The more that everyone is active, the more that everyone is involved, they can put that onto their scholarship applications, which gives them the opportunity to get those scholarships. Leadership opportunities. So becoming an officer. And we have, like Patty said, we have trillions of different titles for officer positions. So those leadership opportunities can develop not just within the chapter, but onto the campus, because campus administration is watching all of the members, especially Phi Theta Kappa. Oh, I like that student. I want them on a campus committee, which opens up a whole new door of opportunities, creates a lasting impact on your community, and also making a difference on your campus. There's publishing opportunities, award-winning Hallmark opportunities, and then also connecting with our PTK Connect for business, transfer, and scholarships. All right, and so next session, we just want to thank you all for coming to this one, and hope you got a lot out of it. But our next session is going to be for our advisory session, April 27th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's going to be on Get Started Now on College and Honors and Action Projects to achieve 5-star chapter status in 2022. If you haven't already, just get together and start thinking about setting your goal. And we're super excited to see what you all are going to do for in 2022. And I'll throw it back over to Patty.
Thank you, Ryan. And along with all the resources that are there, Ryan and I are available to answer any questions via email. We can also set up a time to meet with you via Zoom to help you, navigate your term as a chapter officer. Especially in the beginning, if you need some assistance with that or want to brainstorm a few things about setting smarter goals, please feel free to reach out to us. And we promise to get right back to you. I'm going to, let me see, let's stop sharing. Yeah. Did we have any other questions we needed to go over? Did we get them all?
I think we got them all except for Donna asked the name of the article in which you referred to when you were speaking earlier. I think that's the only one we didn't get.
About inspiration and motivation?
Yes.
It was, I got to open up my PowerPoint. I believe his name was Rob. I can't remember the last name, but Donna, I will send it to you and I will include it in the email to all of you when we send them recording. But it was a really great article about the difference between inspiration and motivation and why they are really both. They're different, but we need both of them. You're welcome. Well, we enjoy meeting with all of you. Again, we'll see everybody again April, in Denver for Catalyst, and then we will do one session in the month of April with just advisors, and we'll start back in May with 2 with chapter leaders and advisors. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Have a great day, everybody.